You're watching a special broadcast of Reality Check. The use of hateful and divisive language by politicians has a long and troubled history in this country. But of late, this kind of VIP hate speech, as we're calling it, seems to have registered an alarming rise. Not a day or a week goes by without some high-ranking neta, an MP, a minister, an MLA, or even a chief minister making some sort of hateful comment of bigotry or inciting violence. The rise in use of social media by politicians has only amplified this disturbing trend. Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to draw the line between the rise of VIP hate speech and the hateful climate surrounding us. But to try and make this case anecdotally, however, that intolerance is on the rise in the past 4 years or that the mahal has been poisoned allows defenders of the present regime to easily dismiss or mock this argument. They can turn around and say, as they often do, that this has always been the case and that even if a few of their leaders have bowled a communal no ball, they get reprimanded. So we, more specifically NDTV's Nimisha Jaiswal, who joins us on the show tonight, set out to quantify VIP hate speech. Has it indeed gone up since the Modi Sarkar? Do VIP haters face any consequences? Or is it the Indian people that bear the brunt? Now, before we actually come to the findings, Nimisha, let's actually understand from you how you set out to build this database, build this catalogue of VIP hate.
Right, Vasu. First, we defined what we meant by hate speech. Statements that are clearly communal, casteist slurs or calls to violence, and which would invoke action under India's hate speech laws like IPC 295A, outraging religious feeling, IPC 153, promoting enmity between groups, or IPC 505, making statements conducing to public mischief.
Right.
We also included speeches by influential leaders which may not be directly communal but fall under the category of what is called dog whistling, where you make communal remarks in an indirect or coded way. We selected as a time period 2014 to now versus UPA 2, 2009 to 2014. We included only elected representatives, MLAs, MPs, ministers, chief ministers, as well as those holding high offices within parties like party bosses and governors.
Right.
The data was collated from public record, the internet using a network of reporters. We scanned through every news report tagged as hate speech in the last 9 years. Over 1,300 articles, and collated this information with databases such as the Documentation of the Oppressed and the Amnesty Halt the Hate Tracker. We also looked at hateful tweets, analyzing the last 1,000 tweets of top politicians and public figures. We also looked up what action, if any, was taken against these haters, Vasu.
Okay, right. So that's a fairly comprehensive pool of data which you've sourced. But Nimisha, what we are making clear is that this is far from a perfect record, right? We're in no way claiming that this is comprehensive, and we welcome feedback from our viewers on our entries. And as long as it matches our criteria, we'll update the online version of this database, which is going to come up on ndtv.com. All right, Nimisha, now take us through the big findings of what you found in terms of how hate speech, VIP hate speech, has spiked under Modi Sarkar.
So, Vasu, starting with May 2014 until now, there have been 124 instances of VIP hate speech made by 44 politicians. Comparing this to the UPA 2, we only found 21 instances made by 21 politicians. In other words, we are seeing that VIP hate has spiked almost 500% under the current government. 112 of these 124 instances of hate speech under the Modi Sarkar, or about 90%, are from the BJP. 34 haters, or 77% of the VIP haters in the last 4 years are from the BJP. Only 10 or 23% are from other parties. Of the 21 instances of VIP hate speech during the Congress rule from 2009 to 14, 3 are from the ruling party, which was the Congress back then. And from the opposition, also the BJP took the lead with 7 instances of hate speech. The other 11 are from politicians that are from other parties, including the Samajwadi Party, the Bahujan Samaj Party, the MIM, or the Shiv Sena, Vasu.
All right, okay, Nimisha. So that's the big finding from this massive data collection exercise that you've done, that there's been a spike of 500% in VIP hate speech that is, netas who are using the language of bigotry, who are using the language of violence between the previous UPA 2 Sarkar and Modi Sarkar. That has been a massive jump. And you're also finding, Nimisha, that almost 91% of these VIP haters are from the ruling party compared to only 10% from other parties. Now, the question is, who are these VIP haters? Here's a wall, as it were, that we are putting up. This is a wall of shame that we're calling, on which we're going to show you now almost every single one of these politicians, over 40 of them, who have been quote unquote guilty of making a bigoted or a hateful comment in the past 4 years. Now, you will see some familiar faces there, you will see some chief ministers, you will see some prominent union ministers as well as a number of leaders who you may not immediately recognize. These could be MLAs, these could be MPs, but that is the full spectrum of people who said something insightful in the past 4 years. Now, let's highlight from that wall how many of them are from the BJP and how many are from other parties. So, this now is the spectrum of BJP leaders who made such comments in the past 4 years. That's, like we said, virtually 90% statements have been made by the BJP and just very few from other parties. Now, let's look at the similar wall of shame during the UPA time, where, as we mentioned, there were just over 20 instances of VIP hate speech by about 20 politicians. And let's highlight there how many were made by the then ruling party, the Congress, compared to those who were from other parties. So, just a handful of instances from the Congress and then a bunch of them from other parties. In fact, I can tell you now that even in the others, if you highlight the BJP, then we find that actually the BJP had a pretty high strike rate even when it was in the opposition. So, that's the overall picture emerging from this exercise of NDTV, counting VIP hate then versus now. Now, the other question, of course, that arises is that whether this actually has any consequences in terms of, is there any action against these VIP haters? Now, we found that in 96% of these instances, there was no visible action. In other words, there was no reprimand, there was no disciplining, nothing. In only 5 cases, that is only 4% of instances, was there evidence of a politician being publicly reprimanded or cautioned or even having to issue an apology. In several cases, as we know, they went back outside and told the media, actually, we were not reprimanded. Anyway, that's just a small figure, 4%. Only 11 politicians, VIP haters, have been booked for such statements. Now, in 3 cases, and now what we're going to do is actually play you instances of this kind of hate speech and put it in the context of how it works in different ways. Okay, so in at least 3 instances, hate appears to have paid off. The politicians found themselves promoted despite making inflammatory remarks. And who better to typify that than the current Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath.
ये लोग आतंकी भाषा ही यहाँ बोल रहे हैं। मुझे लगता है शाहरुख खान की भाषा में और हाफिज सईद की भाषा में कोई अंतर नहीं है।
ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಜಗತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಸ್ಲಾಂ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಈ ಭಯೋತ್ಪಾದನೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಈ ಇಸ್ಲಾಂ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಈ ಜಗತ್ತಿನಿಂದ ಮೂಲೋತ್ಪಾಟನೆ ಮಾಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ಭಯೋತ್ಪಾದನೆಯನ್ನು ಕಿತ್ತು ಹಾಕಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ.
ನಾವು ಹೇಳಿ ಕೇಳಿ ಹಠವಾದಿಗಳು, ಯಾವುದೋ ರಸ್ತೆಯಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ನಾಯಿಗಳು ಕೂಗಿದ್ರೆ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತಲೆ ಕೆಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜನಗಳು ನಾವಲ್ಲ. ಜಾತ್ಯಾತೀತರು ಅಂತ ಕರ್ಕೊಂತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಯಾರು ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮನ ಗುರುತಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ರಕ್ತವನ್ನು ಜಾತ್ಯಾತೀತರು ಅಂತ ಕರ್ಕೊಂತಾರೆ.
So that was Anant Kumar Hegde who made those comments, and despite that, he made it as an MP, despite that he was promoted as Union Minister, he continues to make such comments. Now, there appears to be a close link between hate speech and elections, and Mr. Hegde is one of only 4 serial haters from poll-bound Karnataka, where VIPs are making offensive statements resulting in a spike. Here are some of the others. So that was an MLA saying there's an election between Ram and Allah. Then there's Shobha Karanjale, another BJP leader, making tweet after tweet about jihadists in Karnataka. Pratap Simha, BJP MP, again repeated tweets on Hindus versus Muslims. All right, in further proof that hate has no consequences, in 21 cases, the VIP hater has been a repeat offender. Here are the most notorious repeat offenders, starting with a BJP MLA from Telangana.
अरे हम तो कई वर्षों से ये दिन की प्रतीक्षा कर रहे हैं कि कब तुम गद्दार सर उठाए और हम तुम्हारे सर कलम कर दें। अरे अयोध्या में राम मंदिर तो बन के ही रहेगा, उसकी कोई औकात नहीं जो अयोध्या में राम मंदिर रोड से बना दे।
अगर ये मूवी हमारे भाग्यनगर में रिलीज होगी तो हम उसको रोकेंगे। जिस भी थिएटर में, जो भी थिएटर में अगर ये मूवी रिलीज होगी, उस थिएटर में घुसकर हम थिएटर को आग लगा देंगे। ये आप व्हाट्सएप के माध्यम से फैलाओ।
तो मुसलमान तो इस देश के अंदर रहना नहीं चाहिए। उन्होंने जनसंख्या के आधार पर देश का बंटवारा कर लिया, तो फिर यहाँ इस देश के अंदर रहने की क्या आवश्यकता थी? फिर उनको अलग भूभाग दे दिया गया, बांग्लादेश या पाकिस्तान जाएं, यहाँ क्या काम है उनका?
These are now more statements from Vinay Khatiyar saying the cremation ground inside the Taj will be destroyed, only our temple will exist and only the pillars that will exist around it. And then a series of tweets from the Tripura governor calling Yaqub Memons, those who came to his funeral, are potential terrorists, and also talking about what the Gujarat riots of 2002. I'm glad you'll appreciate what the Hindus did there. Now, a significant number of instances of hate speech also invoke the rhetoric of cow protection, something that has gained currency under this government. Elected leaders, including MPs, MLAs and even chief ministers, have used the language of vigilantes while calling for violence against those who kill cows.
माता को माता ना मानते हो, उसकी हत्या करते हो। मैंने वादा किया था ऐसे लोगों के हाथ कट उड़वा दूंगा।
हमारी माँ का कोई अपमान करेगा, हम मर जाएंगे, सहन नहीं करेंगे। मर जाएंगे, मार देंगे। हमारी भारत माता रोज क्या कर रही है इंडिया? भारत माता की तरफ कोई उंगली उठाता है कोई आतंकी, तो हमारे लोग शहीद भी होते हैं, सामने वाले को मारते भी हैं।
In fact, further to the correlation between hate speech and violence, the fact-checking site Indiaspend reported that 97% of Gau Raksha attacks since 2010 have occurred under the current government. 76 instances since 2014 compared to only 2 instances in the earlier period. Another popular theme of VIP haters was repeated attempts to delegitimize the Muslim faith, urging Muslims to accept their Hindu ancestry and inciting fears of a Muslim takeover by playing on fears of their excessive fertility.
देश में समस्याएं खड़ी हो रही जनसंख्या के कारण, उसके लिए हिंदू जिम्मेदार नहीं है। जिम्मेदार वो है जो 4 बीवी और 40 बच्चों की बात करते हैं।
So Subramaniam Swamy also tweeting on this again and again about how Muslims should accept that they're Hindu. Too many tweets for us to list all of them, but here's just a sampling. And also Surendra Singh, BJP MLA, about Muslims having to assimilate into the country. Those who are free, don't do it, are free to leave. Another BJP MP, don't try to tell us we won't tolerate insults to the community. Let's decide a date, take on the Muslims, and what have you. The past 4 years have also seen political leaders threatening the administration with violence for taking action against members of their own party, religion, or their ideological fraternity. Like this BJP leader who, in reaction to the arrest of his own party men for unrest in Uttar Pradesh, hinted at a Khoon Ki Holi, a bloodbath. So more threats there from VIP netas about their own community and almost in a sense taking on the state. In the instances of hate speech in the past 4 years by prominent leaders of the opposition, and shifting to them now, the threats of violence against Prime Minister Modi feature more than once, and even a veiled threat of violence against Yogi Adityanath by a Congress leader in Karnataka.
मर्डर कराने की साजिश रची जा रही है, उनको मुंह तोड़ जवाब हम देंगे। नरेंद्र मोदी जी का
आपको नहीं लगता कि केंद्र सरकार
नरेंद्र मोदी का
आपको नहीं लगता कि केंद्र सरकार
जाके बोलिए।
आपके देखा है पूरे देश भर के लोग हैं, बिहार के लोग हैं, लोग चुप बैठे रहेगा क्या? चुप बैठे रहेगा? उनका हाथ काटने वाला बहुत लोग खड़ा है। नरेंद्र मोदी का हाथ काटने वाला है, काला काटने वाला बहुत लोग है।
So both Rabri Devi and her son there threatening to attack Narendra Modi. Now, under the previous UPA government, as we mentioned, there were at least 21 instances of hate speech recorded across party lines. Here are some of the most notorious examples, starting with Rahul Gandhi.
बीजेपी होगी तो लड़ाई होगी, बीजेपी होगी तो 22,000 लोग मरेंगे।
हिंदुस्तान हम 25 करोड़ है ना, तुम 100 करोड़ है ना। 15 मिनट के लिए पुलिस को हटा लो, बता देंगे किसमें हिम्मत है, कौन ताकत है।
So Azam Khan there, another usual suspect when it comes to the language of VIP hate from the opposition side. Okay, so Nimisha, now just to clarify once again, this is just a sampling of all the different instances of hate that you've chronicled. Trying to put out all those 140 or 60 examples would have simply taken too long and would also just have been toxic for our viewers and for the country to actually live through all of that again. But also, Nimisha, just to clarify once again, that while you made a fairly comprehensive attempt to try and collect this information, we're not saying this is definitive. Yes? This is
That's
something
right,
that can evolve as we go.
That's right, Vasu. We have tried to go through a whole list of Google searches, news articles, as well as tweets. We've tried to cover as much as we could, but of course, we are not saying that there are no instances we've missed. It's also worth pointing out that these are only elected representatives. We've actually left out instances of hate by people who are not holding office. So that's why this is the size which we've come up with. There could be more. There are definitely others which we've missed out as well.
Right. Okay. And like we mentioned, that as and when we get more feedback on examples that we have missed out or something that is questionable in terms of what we put out, we're happy to amend our database, which is up on ndtv.com. But broadly, the figures are so stark, so glaring between what has happened earlier and now that it's unlikely to change the big picture. Thanks very much indeed, Nimisha, for joining us, and fantastic effort putting all this together. Now, joining us on the show tonight, we have with us, joining us from Bangalore, is Dr. Tejaswini Gowda, BJP leader and spokesperson of the party there. Manish Tiwari, spokesperson of the Congress, is here in the studio with us. Thanks very much for being here. Vrinda Grover, advocate, also on the show with us. And here in the studio, Aarti Jared, of course, senior journalist. And Lakshmi Sriram, who's program officer at the Association of Democratic Reforms, which has done a lot of work crunching data when it comes to politicians of criminal cases as well as Manipur. We'll also have more voices joining us in a second, including Tathagat Roy, the governor of Tripura, who was featured there in our show. But let me start with you, Vrinda Grover, because, one can turn around and say that this is sort of obvious. We always knew that there was this spike. So what exactly is it that we've discovered? But I think there's something about actually counting it and putting a number to it, rather than just referring it to in a vague sense that, the mahal is getting worse, intolerance is rising. Now we actually have a clear picture of how acutely things have gotten worse when it comes to VIP hate speech.
No, I think the documentation of this and the specific areas where you've documented as to who is speaking, which party, what is the nature of the hate speech is very, very important. I also want to point out here that according to me, this is a very conservative data that we have found,
yes.
Important and significant as it is. It's also very important to highlight again what you have said, that these are elected representatives, MPs, MLAs, chief ministers.
Yes.
The only thing I would say is that hate, so what we clearly see is hate pays, hate works,
yes.
and hate speech has consequences. Hate speech does
yes.
not have consequences for the person making them, in the sense that they are not held to account, they are not held responsible, they are not held legally accountable. However, if the political party in power, the present government, the manner in which politics is to be pursued and electoral dividends are to be gained
yes.
is by creating polarization, then hate speech is actually a political praxis. It is not accidental, it is not emotional, it is not coming out of some deranged or somebody who's not in control of what is being said. This is systematic polarization in order to actually secure electoral dividends. It is also having an impact and clear consequences for those who are targeted, be it an individual or be it a community or a group. It could be a religious community, it could be an ethnic minority. Those who are vilified, made the object of hate, are then further vulnerable to both public hate, they become objects of hate, and they become sanctioned objects of violence.
Right, and I just want to a quick question to you before I move to the rest, Vrinda, because I think also what's of concern here is that there are laws which govern hate speech. They may not be the most comprehensive laws, but they do exist such as they are. But yet, again and again, they've come up short when it comes to taking on VIP haters.
Well, I think the point is, say, something like Section 153 capital A of the Indian Penal Code, which is perhaps the broadest section defining hate speech.
Right.
That requires sanction of the government in order to actually the complaint to move forward.
Right.
Now, if those in power are actually the ones indulging deliberately and intentionally in hate speech, surely there will be nobody giving the sanction. Because the signal going out also to the police and to the administration is
right.
that this is the manner in which certain people are to be dealt with. In fact, we see the only time hate speech provisions are used is when somebody from the minority community, and that is not condoned or sanctioned or okay by me at all, makes a toxic, vicious comment, then the legal machinery springs into action, which it should.
Yes.
But because there is an unequivalence in the manner in which law is responding, we don't get any further in this.
Okay. All right. Let me just bring in now Tejaswini Gowda from the BJP. Now, Tejaswini Gowda, this is not a case anymore where one can respond with whataboutery, saying it used to happen earlier, what about XYZ? Clearly a 500% spike, even taking a conservative estimate between UPA2 and NDA2, suggests that the BJP has a hate speech problem.
Srinivasan, one cannot see these speeches in isolation. One must see in totality. First of all, one will not become overnight the VIP.
In totality,
after working many long years among the public, after working with the population, after working with the communities, after addressing their grievances, people will respect, people will, their popularity will grow. After the popular, in popular election only, they will get elected and then they will become the VIP. Any hate speech, I don't know. India doesn't have the history of attacking anybody, invading anybody, destroying anybody's culture or the history or monuments, or attacking anybody, any other community. If at all anybody subjected in this country for more violence and more abuse, that is the Hindu community. I don't know, many people were not in a mindset to accept, accept the Modi government after 30 years.
I'm not sure where you're going with this. I'm just simply asking you.
No.
Just listening, just hear me out for a second. Just hear me out. Just hear me out for 1 second. Just hear me out for 1 second.
When you are isolated,
I'm saying just
when
hear
you're
me out for a
targeting
second.
the BJP leaders,
You've just heard a whole catalogue of leaders of your party making one terrible comment after the other. Just as an Indian citizen listening to this.
1 minute. Who
Didn't you
divided
just
this
feel
country?
terrible?
1 minute,
Don't you think the
Who
party
divided
needs
this
to
country
address
as
this?
minority and majority? No,
Sorry?
the country which lived for so many centuries with harmony and peace and love,
Yes.
We are
who
talking
brought
about
this
the citizens of the
communalization?
country now.
After the division of the country, who divided this country? Who are doing the appeasement politics in order to get the votes?
No, I'm not talking of appeasement
because
politics.
they failed this nation in many fronts.
I'm not talking of appeasement
You
politics.
see-
I'm talking of Anand Kumar Hegde saying as long as we have
No,
Islam
let
in the
us
world, there'll be
see,
no
Anand
end to
Kumar- you
terrorism.
see,
I'm
Anand
talking of
Kumar-
Shobha
Anand Kumar
Karandale
Hegde-
saying that
Anand Kumar
using
Hegde is
jihadis in every
representing-
tweet.
1 minute, Srinivasanji, please listen.
I'm
Please,
sure
please
you
allow me
don't
to
condone
speak.
this.
Anant Kumar Hegde is coming from the place where Batkal. Okay, now Karnataka has become the place for the terrorism hub. Rather
dear.
than addressing these issues, don't see their speech in isolation. What I am saying,
Okay.
we never attacked anybody. It is our duty to protect the the
Well,
population, which is
Okay,
it a
let me
crime
bring
to
in
born
Manish
in
Tiwari.
India as Hindu?
Let
Why
me-
are
let me-
you addressing as a communalist? Why are you addressing as secularist? How to debate? How to?
No, let me bring in Manish Tiwari. I'm actually
Listen to
somewhat
patient-
disappointed. I'll tell you just a second. I'll just a second, Tejaswini Gowda. I feel disappointed because I interviewed Yediyurappa about 2 weeks ago, Manish Tiwari, and he told me that this kind of language is not something he condones. He doesn't condone the Pratap Simhas, he doesn't condone the Anand Kumar Hegdes, but it seems to have had no impact. And the tidal wave of hate, high-ranking hate, continues.
Well, Srinivasan, that's glib talk for the lack of a better word. See, there is a need to understand if there's been a spike in the past 4 years, why has it happened? It's primarily because ever since the NDA BJP has come back into office, they are trying to refight the battle for the founding vision of India. So therefore, there are those who believe that if we had a partition on religious lines, it should have gone to a logical conclusion. You had Vinay Katiyar actually say that. So therefore, therefore, when that's the paradigm that you come from, and if you use that as the basis to really extrapolate and understand what's been happening over the past 4 years, it makes sense.
Right.
So every negative manifestation in the name of the cow, in the name of vigilantism, in the name of beef, ghar wapsi, love jihad, etc., etc., all of them spring from a basic understanding that the fundamental compact which underpins the Indian state should be rewritten.
But
So therefore, when you come into office in 2014 on a very thin majority, the thinnest for a majority government since 1947, you feel that you have the license to rewrite that compact. And that's why you see, the thing is, it is not coincidental. It is people in different parts of the country belonging to a particular political denomination speaking almost in the same voice, because that's what they've been trained. That's what they've been trained. That is what their ideological makeup, and that's what they believe in.
But do you believe that this is now something which, because of this climate, this is affecting all parties, including yours, like we just played that comment by Dinesh Gundu Rao, of showing slippers to Yogi Adityanath?
Well, in the sense that I'm not going to try and defend what Dinesh said.
Do you approve of what he said?
I'm not trying to defend what Dinesh said. Dinesh used to be my youth Congress president of Karnataka. But the fact is that what Dinesh said actually pales into complete insignificance when you look at the kind of language which has been used by some of the other eminences that you put out. All right, to say that we'll show chappals to Yogi Adityanath may not be the most graceful thing to say, but it is definitely on a scale of magnitude, not saying that because if you belong to a particular denomination and you had a religious partition, so therefore you should go to Bangladesh or you should go to Pakistan.
Right.
So I think
he's actually apologized. He's actually apologized for it subsequently, by the way. Let me bring in Arti.
I think comparing apples and pears is not really very fair.
Okay, Aarti, you know, as journalists, we have thick skins. We are used to listening to this kind of stuff, but the sheer volume of it is something. I mean, even when you are researching this and putting this together, it was unbearable because, like we said, of the spike that we've seen, where it's completely normal for ministers and high-ranking leaders to speak in the language of the fringe.
No, Vasu, I think you've done a great job by trying to quantify what we were so far, you know, seeing as anecdotal.
Right.
So at least it's a start somewhere, and you know what you've come up with is quite stunning, actually. But yes, I mean, you know, you see, this is the problem, that it stems from an ideology that believes in hate. You know, it's an ideology that is directed against one particular community and has always been so. But earlier, the BJP had leaders like Vajpayee and Advani who, you know, kind of kept it down and everything, because they realized that this is a country which has 12 to 14% Muslims and Christians and, you know, Sikhs and Jains and so on, and we all have to live together, because what do? You know, you as Vajpayee famously said, you can't change your neighbors, so you have to learn to live with them. The thing is that once Vajpayee and Advani went out and this new BJP came up, you know, this BJP seems to have no qualms about, you know, sort of spouting that ideology. In fact, and that's what you are seeing being reflected. And there's no action coming from the top at all. Nobody is telling these guys that, hey, you know,
need to stop.
You need to stop here.
In fact, that's something that we also wanted to get into, that one of the reasons for the reluctance of the current ruling party to crack down on this kind of VIP hate also could be because some of its senior-most leaders themselves are not averse to occasionally bowling the communal no ball. Now, some of these statements may not be as outrightly, brazenly bigoted as some of those comments we've heard, but they fall in the category of what we were talking about earlier, that this is called communal dog whistling, where you talk in a coded language, but it's pretty clear what you're trying to say. And unfortunately, even the Prime Minister and the BJP President have not been above it when it comes to the heat of the campaign trail. Let's listen.
गांव में अगर कब्रिस्तान बनता है तो गांव में स्मशान भी बनना चाहिए। अगर रमजान में बिजली मिलती है तो दिवाली में भी बिजली मिलनी चाहिए। और नीतीश जी, लालू बाबू का खेल है कि 5% दलितों में से, 5% महादलितों में से, 5% पिछड़ों में से, 5% अति पिछड़ों में से, ऐसे सब में से 5% आरक्षण की चोरी कर लो और संप्रदाय के आधार पर दूसरे संप्रदाय के लोगों में ये 5% आरक्षण दे दो कि आप में से रत्ती भर आरक्षण कोई छीनने की कोशिश करेगा, मोदी आपके आरक्षण की सुरक्षा के लिए अपनी जान की बाजी लगा देगा।
गलती से भी अगर भारतीय जनता पार्टी बिहार में हार गई तो जय पराजय तो बिहार में होगी, पटाखे पाकिस्तान में जाकर चलेंगे।
So that was, of course, the Prime Minister and Amit Shah on the campaign trail in Uttar Pradesh and then earlier in Bihar. Vaibhav Agarwal, BJP leader, also joining us on the show. Is this part of the problem, Vaibhav, that because the top leadership itself doesn't occasionally mind bowling a communal no ball, they're simply not able to rein in all the foot soldiers?
Srinivasan, excellent. My congratulations to you on the coverage. I just wish that it was a little not skewed in a particular direction, but that's okay. I think Aarti ji pointed out a right way, and I would definitely second it. Beg to disagree with Manish's comments, but that's okay. He has his own politics to manage. But I could be apolitical because BJP allows democracy. We are not just like any other party where we can't speak. I definitely condone and I definitely denounce the format in which anyone was to spew hate. Forget about leaders. Forget about. I'm talking about individuals as well.
But
I shouldn't be able to, whether I like you or dislike you doesn't matter. I shouldn't be able to
I
get
don't want
personal.
I don't want generalities. I want specific points based on what we found.
Now specifically, there is a level of maturity from which we have to see this. Now I'll tell you, most leaders who are involved in such kind of campaign trail or any other trail that happens, any other speech that happens, you see, this is more to do with their constituency representation before they are even leaders of a particular symbol. And I don't want to make it political as a debate. I would want to look at it as a leader in the sphere in the government and want to see it from a different lens.
I'm not able to understand you. What are you saying? Are you saying that it's okay on the election trail to make these sorts of comments because it's pandering to a certain base?
So I'll tell you what happens. Now, these comments are always encouraged by certain symbols within the system, A. B, we also have to understand that these are individuals in individual capacities making such comments. We cannot always combine them to the symbol that they are representing, be it Congress, be it any other party. I'm not trying to defend myself, and it doesn't give me the right that, you know, Congress did it, so I should do it, or I did it, so Congress should do it.
They are people holding constitutional positions.
Yes.
What are you talking about? These are not individuals.
Right. And the fact that you say that they're not, just hold on, Vaibhav, the fact that you say that they're speaking in individual capacity, which is extraordinary given that they're ministers, MPs and so on, the party has never come out strongly in any of these cases. In 91%, the party has never come out and said that we completely condemn or distance ourselves from these statements. It has said nothing.
No, we've always distanced ourselves from certain statements.
No, you've not. We've gone through the record.
To be hate mongering.
There are only four instances where these VIP haters have been reprimanded. The rest of the time, there's nothing. In fact, we've just put out examples where people have been promoted. So, I mean, I think it's
sure.
You know, it's extraordinary to argue that.
But that's what you think, that people have been promoted because of their hate speech.
All right,
but I don't agree to that. People get promoted in Bharatiya Janata Party because they work at the ground level.
Okay.
Because they're connected to people and they're representing a certain constituency, and that constituency wants them to do a clear messaging in the public domain.
Okay.
And perhaps that's where most of the stuff is coming
I'll come
from.
to Manish in a second.
Why don't we see that side of it?
Okay, Lakshmi Sriram, ADR has, quite separate to this, been cataloging the links between how politicians with a record, whether it's to do with the criminal record or whether now, as you just put out, the fact that you have those who have, offences of
specific to
violence against women
as well,
is something which seems to be also a rising trend. So there almost seems to be a correlation here between both the rhetoric of politics as well as the actual record.
Unfortunately, there is no specific definition of what hate speech actually is.
Yes.
So there is no judicial definition of what it is, mainly because judiciary, not just in India,
yes,
but elsewhere, they don't want to define it because they don't want to curtail free speech by imposing certain restrictions. So I have a report here of the Law Commission of India submitted in March 2017,
yes,
where they have defined loosely what hate speech is, which is like Nimisha pointed out, it is an expression which is abusive, insulting, intimidating, harassing, etc. Or causing or discrimination against groups identified, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, they have also pointed out 6 separate IPC sections which loosely connect to hate speech because they talk about promoting enmity between religious groups, outraging religious feelings, etc.
Right.
There are 3 separate IPC sections. And based on the affidavits of sitting MLAs and Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha MPs, we have details of those sitting MLAs, MPs who have declared cases against these particular sections which come under hate speech. So there are a total of 45 MLAs, 17 of whom are from the BJP, 5 each from AIMIM and the TRS, and
who have these sections against them.
Who have 153A, which is promoting enmity, 295A, outraging religious feelings, and 298 uttering words. And there are also Rajya Sabha MPs, 2 from the BJP, 1 from TDP, and Lok Sabha, there are 15 MPs who have hate speech IPC sections against themselves. Yes.
Against them, right. So as we were pointing out, the actual number of so-called VIP haters booked is very small. So I'm going to come back to panel, but let me just go to a conversation I had earlier with Tathagat Roy, who's the governor of Tripura, but who, despite being in that high office, continues to send out some very, very problematic tweets. And I began by asking him, sir, that as we just put out 500% spike between UPA Sarkar and Modi Sarkar, in part being sort of fueled by the sorts of tweets that you're putting out, and does it behoove you as someone holding high office to put out that kind of language?
See, first thing that I had told you that I will not comment on any tweet that I have made. What I had said in my tweets, I shall answer only over Twitter. Now, having said that, there is a second aspect of it, and that is that this what you call a jump in the number of hate speeches, some 500% or whatever. I don't think
500%.
The incidence of the number of hate speeches makes that much of a difference as the intensity of the hate speeches.
Well, I mean, we have counted this data. We have counted this data over a long period of time, and it is a pretty significant jump. But you know, you're saying that this is all par for the course, but just the fact that you as a governor are sending out such tweets, this is pretty unprecedented.
No, but why do you confine yourself? One second.
Confine ourselves to what?
1 second. Why do you
confine ourselves to what
but
exactly?
why do you but why do you confine yourself to last 4 or 5 years?
Okay.
Or for the UPA time and the NDA time? You take the history of hate speeches. The great Calcutta killings of 1946, in which some 15,000 or 20,000 people died,
1946
had started with a hate speech by Premier Sarawardi, who had called forth the entire audience in
Sir,
Kolkata
we are going
to
back
go out and
now
kill
to
Hindus.
I don't know what
He
period.
had said that I have immobilized the police. They immobilized the police and the military not to interfere. You can just go and do it. So therefore, I do not subscribe to your methodology. That
Okay.
is comparing UPA and NDA. Makes no difference.
Okay.
The number makes no difference. It is the intensity and the quality which makes a difference.
All right, sir. So now you want to now take us back almost to the time of partition. But tell me, you are today, I mean, in the recent past, tweeting stuff like this. I suggest Russian treatment to terrorist carcasses. Wrap them in pigskin, bury them face down in pig excreta. Keep a watch on those who assemble at Yaqub Memon's funerals. Many are potential terrorists. I'm glad you appreciate what the Hindus did in Gujarat in 2002. Now I come back to this. Is this the kind of language a governor should be using?
Yeah, let's take one by one. All right. Let's
Go
take
ahead.
them one by one.
Go ahead.
All right, let's take them one by one.
Okay.
The one that I said about Yaqub Menon. Can you imagine why some 15 to 20,000 people should follow the janaza of a person who has been ordered to be hanged by a properly constituted court in this country? I can understand that his close relatives, his friends should go. Why should 15,000 people go?
But sir, how
So
do
it
you
is
jump from
obvious,
there?
it is
How do you
obvious
jump
that
from there
it
to the
is
fact that these
obvious
people are
that these
potential
people,
terrorists? Where is the proof?
yes, they
Sitting
were
in Tripura.
potential terrorists because it is obvious that they had sympathies with him. Now, Afzal Guru was a terrorist, was an actual terrorist. The people who followed him, who had sympathies with him, they are obviously potential terrorists.
I
so
see.
all that I said
Right.
is intelligence should keep a tab on them. All that I had said is
Okay.
intelligence should keep a tab on them.
I
Intelligence
see.
should watch them. Why are these people following the janaza of a convicted terrorist?
Okay.
What is so wrong with it?
All right, so you have no qualms in what you've said. I just want to ask you something I'd asked you in a previous conversation we had, that have you been reprimanded or in any way asked to tone down the sort of tweets you're sending out?
No, I'm not going to answer that question. What has happened, what has transpired between me and my superiors is an entirely different matter. I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay, I'm not sure why you don't want to answer that question, but it appears that you haven't, because as recently as February of this year, you've still been tweeting things like there's a mosque inside the Kolkata airport, there are only a handful of Muslims in the area, but it's a security risk. So there doesn't seem to be any kind of cautioning.
See, I told you in plain English that I am not going to answer that question. So please do not persist. I am not going to answer that question. You will not be able to extract an answer from me.
Okay.
But having said that, what has happened in what I had tweeted about the mosque inside the Kolkata airport, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose International Airport.
Yes.
It is not only a security risk, it is an aviation risk. It is a risk to hundreds and thousands of people who fly in and fly out of Kolkata.
I see.
Why should that mosque be there? It should be removed.
All right. Thank you very much there, indeed, Governor, for joining us. Manish Tiwari, extraordinary. The Governor there, unapologetic.
Well, it's not extraordinary. You see, you are making a fundamental mistake when you think that there's a mainstream and there's a fringe. There is no mainstream and there's no fringe. The fringe is the mainstream. If the Governor of Tripura can be so brazen about what he's been articulating, and he still continues to be the Governor of Tripura, it is then very obvious that this is the mainstream. This is their DNA. This is exactly what they represent. So therefore, under those circumstances, excuse me, ma'am, let me complete.
Just a second. Just a second.
I didn't interrupt you. So therefore, when you have the Prime Minister, making a comparison between Samshan and Kabristan, when you have the BJP President articulating the kind of stuff that you showed on your television screen, so therefore, ultimately, these people actually believe in all this. And you had the Governor of Tripura going back to the partition. That's exactly what I was saying. That in their minds, they are still fighting the unfinished battle of partition.
Okay,
let me complete. They lost in 1947. They lost in 1947.
And they do not want to be a part of the new India.
And they want to rewrite the idea of India.
Okay, Vaibhav Agarwal, Vaibhav, you just heard the Governor of Tripura there. Now, surely you would concede he is not facing any kind of political compulsion. He is not fighting an election. He is not standing in front of a crowd of people, which you seem to suggest in a way justified this kind of rhetoric. And yet he continues to use this kind of language.
And continues as Governor of Tripura.
And continues as Governor and has nobody telling him, listen, you need to stop.
No, so let's appreciate this for a moment, that he's also a citizen of the country. Why does it have why the lens, the methodology of observing everyone is first by his designation and then by his citizenship? That is absolutely
You're honoring a constitutional
opinions that are being shared. Most of the opinions that are being allow me to finish. Most of the opinions that are being shared are also having a lot of emotion as the country persons. You also have to appreciate we cannot give it a saffron color, we cannot give it a white color, we cannot give it orange, green, yellow, blue, black. We just can't do that because we are all citizens of the country first, before we don a symbol or a designation. Why does it have to be political? This absolutely shows Congress's old feudal mindset. And with Manish Tiwari saying we are British, I think that is absolutely what Congress is suffering from. Yogi Adityanath aayenge to chappal se marunga. What are we talking about?
Come in. Yes. Vrinda, go ahead.
Yeah, just two quick things. I think what we heard here from one of the BJP spokesperson is that they seem to be torn between constituency and constitution, and therefore they have chosen to do what the constituency they claim wants them to do. Although actually when they take office they and hold a constitutional post, as does the Honorable Governor, they take an oath of allegiance to the Constitution. And even while election campaigning, there are certain rules which govern where you cannot depart from the basic structure of the Constitution. So clearly what we are seeing here is a justification. There is no apology. There is a justification and a legitimization of hate speech, which is both an incitement to violence, and the Law Commission report that was referred to actually speaks of expanding the ambit of hate speech to not just incitement to violence, but anyone causing fear or alarm, particularly on grounds of class, religion, caste, sexual orientation, etc. I only want to end with 2 points. One, that this is clearly political strategy. This
Right.
is not happening in default.
Okay.
This is a way of polarization. This is the way forward in election strategy. Secondly,
Right.
one aspect that is missed out totally. Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute. One second.
Quick-
Just one point.
quickly, Vrinda,
The
quickly,
point
yeah.
that is
And I
seems to
don't-
have been
and I
missed
don't
out
like to
throughout the
debate
show,
with-
and the
debate
target and object of hate speech very often are women. There is no law which says hate speech against women is prohibited.
Right,
That is
okay.
all right. But please see the kind of denigration and humiliation that women are subjected to, including by people and men in office.
Okay, all right. In fact, we didn't count examples of statements made, sexist or crude statements against women, which is a separate attempt we'll have to make. And I wish we'd done that in the context of everything that happened in Kathua and Unnao. But I want to get a last word in from Tejaswini Gowda. Dr. Tejaswini Gowda, would the BJP in Karnataka pledge that from now on, moving forward, there will be no such hate speeches in this election that's coming up? Yes or no?
Srinivasan, what can you expect from me and my party when Hindu cadres were mercilessly murdered, brutally murdered, and this government is targeting the, and patronizing this kind of thing. And also they have withdrawn the cases against such criminals, okay? And it is our duty to provide the safe political situation for Karnataka people. There is lawlessness.
We're seeing the consequences of this playing out in Kathua. We saw the consequences of this playing out in the murder of Pehlu Khan.
Division and rule is in their DNA.
Of allowing this kind of
Congress is having
Words
in
have
their DNA
consequences.
divide and rule. Okay, they were most benefited. As far as BJP is concerned, as far as my Prime Minister is concerned,
Okay,
we
we'll
don't
have to wrap
believe
it.
in divide and rule.
All
We
right.
believe in love and harmony of this country. And,
Okay, Manish, we're completely out of time.
Just
My
a-
producer is
just
yelling
a
at me.
small comment.
Literally 10 seconds.
Yeah, just a small comment.
10
You see,
seconds.
The other difficulty is that if you leave 124A and 295
Yes.
out, and you come to the other sections of the Indian Penal Code,
Yeah.
which deal with intimidation, most of them get covered under the Probation of Offenders Act.
Okay.
Because the punishment is less than 3 years. So
Okay, I
even
think
if
we'll have to
somebody
do a
gets convicted, he's out on probation.
All right, we'll have to do a follow-up where we look very hard at the laws and whether they're actually effective at all in trying to rein this in, because political parties clearly do not seem to be interested at all in reining it in. That's all on this special broadcast. Thank you all so much for joining us in the studio and outside of it. That's it on Reality Check. Thanks for watching. Good night.